So kind of our format today, we're going to hear from 3 accredited local schools of social work. And you guys remember who does accreditation for social work schools specifically? It's one of those initial things. No, not C, what? Getting close. CSWE. Yeah, who said that one? One of you guys did. All right, Morgan, if I had a bonus prize, you'd be getting it. So Council on Social Work Education, and all of the schools that you'll hear from today are Council on Social Work Education accredited. Those will be the only speakers that we'll have into our classes, and you guys did your activity where you kind of did, dream big and find other places in other states that you could look at that had accredited schools of social work. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to learn a little bit more about that. I'm going to do some initial introductions just so I don't forget, and then you'll kind of know who's from which school and who these other folks are. And then from there, we'll have each school do their presentation. So first, we're going to hear from Sharon Jackson and Jenna, I never say Grush. I always want to say Grush. Jenna Grush are from Fontbonne. Dana Clar is from Lindenwood University. Carrie Flesh, does anybody know Carrie already, is one of our advisors and student services representatives here. So she's going to talk for a few minutes after our representatives do about transferring and things that you guys will need to know when you're ready to move on to your 3rd and 4th year. And then over here we have Sandy Fry, who's our division chair of social sciences. And Linda Botter is the advising coordinator for BSW program and an instructor as well in the social work program at University of Missouri St. Louis. And then we'll also hear about their presence at Mineral Area College location. All right? And then Tom is graciously videotaping for us today, so thank you, Tom. All right, I think that's everybody, and thanks everybody for being here. Sharon Jackson, I'm going to let you start.
Well, welcome, and first I want to thank Susie for inviting us, all of our schools, to Hillsborough to talk to you today. I'm bringing Jenna Grush. She is our Director of Transfer Admissions, and she's going to speak a little bit about scholarships in the admissions application process. That's not my specialty. First, a little bit about Fontbonne. We are a small liberal arts school. Your class sizes will be about 10 to 12 students in the social work program. And it's about a 30 to 40 minute drive from this Hillsborough campus, depending upon traffic. Our classes, we have a BSW. We specialize in a generalist practice, which means we're preparing you for professional practice in social work. What that actually means is when in your education, your curriculum, you're getting theory and knowledge and also skills. Your field education will teach you how to apply those skills into practice. We are also a member of the St. Louis Field Education Collaborative, which St. Louis University, UMSL, Fontbonne, who am I missing? Washington University are all members of, which gives you more opportunity. There's about for BSWs there are about 320 possibilities for a field education site. What makes our program unique or different from other schools is that, again, we're a small-sized school. You have about 10 to 15 students in your class. We also offer an etiquette course, which is really professional polishing you. Generalist practice, we're preparing you to be professionals, but also the etiquette kind of gives you that additional polish of how to go out and be a professional in practice. So it's business etiquette all the way up to social etiquette, the etiquette for disabilities, it's the history of etiquette, then it's a 1-hour professional development class. We also have practice courses. Our curriculum starts with foundation, then your field education, and then your professional practice courses, which are taught by actual social workers in the field. And those different areas are counseling, gerontology, mental health, criminal justice, families and children, and administration. So you get your foundation, your field, and then you actually take practice courses in a specialized area. Our program goals and objectives. When a program is developed, it has to create goals and objectives, and one of our program goals was rural community. So you will find that there are many influences of the rural community in our program, even though we're located in the city. One of those is we offer a program in rural social work. as well as a lot of rural outreach. Some of the programs that the students have completed were we're working with the rural parish workers. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're located in Potosi, and they do a lot of outreach to the poor and individuals with unmet needs in the Jefferson County area. Our students are also working with the local hospital doing case management around the Affordable Care Act. So if you're familiar with social work and the whole Affordable Care Act, it's a kind of a social work model. So we're doing some work with that. And the most exciting thing that we're doing is working with Judge Reel of the Hillsborough Courts, just right down the street. She's creating the first veterans drug court for the area. And the social work program faculty are working with her team, developing the program, doing the assessment, and our students are in on that. And then we have one student working with her, creating the manuals for the program. And then we also have additional practicum sites out in the different area, field education sites for you. Another thing that we have is a 2+2 with Jefferson College. Professor Susie and I created this 2+2. And if you complete your associates here, you're automatically accepted into our social work program. So that's an exciting new, and Professor does a really good job at preparing you for that. She gives you good background in social work. We're also working with an our accelerated bridge program with St. Louis University. So in your junior year, you can take courses at St. Louis University MSW program, and that transfers over. You're provisionally admitted to their program, but you're taking courses. After you complete your junior or senior year at Fompon, then you go right into their MSW program. The other important thing to know about BSW programs that you get advanced standing at MSW accredited schools. So every MSW accredited program should be offering you some level of advanced standing. So getting the BSW helps you get there quicker. About 80% of our students do transfer on to get their MSW, and SLU, WashU, UMSL, SIUE seems to be the preferred destinations right now. We have two that went to Rutgers and another one that went to NYU. So the majority of students are transferring into MSWs, but it's not necessary, particularly if you want to stay out in a rural area, because there are many opportunities for BSWs to work in rural areas at an entry-level position. Okay, now I'm going to have Jenna talk about the admissions and financial aid part.
Hi, as Sharon mentioned, my name is Jenna Grush. I work with transfer students at Fompon. I'm an assistant director of admission, but I work almost solely with transfer students. So if you're interested in exploring Fompon as an option, you and I will probably correspond at some point. The admission process at Fompon is pretty easy. There's just 3 main steps. 2, if you're not seeking financial aid, our application online is the first step always, and it's free. So you just go to the main page of our website and there's a link right there for you. And then we require official transcripts from all schools that you have attended. So Jefferson College, obviously, if you have any dual credit or AP credit from high school, we would need those scores and transcripts as well. And then you would file the FAFSA. Those are your 3 main steps. And we're gonna give you a lot of information throughout the admission process. Once you have applied and submitted your transcripts, we will consider you for admission, we'll consider you for scholarship, and we'll do an evaluation of credit for you all at once. So your admission counselor, either myself or Joe, will complete all of those steps and you'll get all of that information right away, usually within a week or so of us receiving all of your final documents. Once you have done that and you have filed the FAFSA, our financial aid office will prepare you with a financial aid estimate so you can get a really good idea of what your cost to attend Fompon would be for the upcoming school year. And in addition to them providing that, we're actually going to call you and go over that with you as well, because we know that that information is coming to you from different places and different schools complete that different ways, and we just want to make sure that you have a really good understanding of that. Speaking of cost, I've talked to students who say, I'm not even looking at Fompon because it's too expensive and I can't afford it. It is expensive, especially if you're comparing to the cost of a 4-year public institution. We are private, so you are going to see a higher sticker price, if you will, for the whole school year. 2014-15, it's $23,130 for the year for full-time students. However, we have a lot of really great ways to help bring that cost down. As I mentioned before, we'll consider you for scholarship automatically. All of our scholarships are guaranteed as long as you plan to enroll full-time and have a minimum cumulative GPA of at least a 2.5. That's where all of our scholarships start. The higher the GPA, the higher the scholarship. Our top scholarship for transfer students currently is our Phi Theta Kappa Scholarship. So that's an $8,500 award, and in order to earn that award, you have to be a member of Phi Theta Kappa with at least a 3.2 blended cumulative GPA. Or if you have a 3.5 or higher, while we would like you to be a member of Phi Theta Kappa, you don't have to actually be a member. So 3.2 or higher with membership, or 3.5 and higher just in general. So that's a guaranteed scholarship. As long as you meet the criteria, you'll be awarded that. So that's just one type of aid. We also have federal, state, but also institutional grants. As a private institution, we're able to offer that. We also have federal work study and campus work study. All of that is free money that you don't have to pay back. And then we also accept outside scholarships. So if you're looking at different organizations like businesses, nonprofits, churches, all kinds of places have scholarships. And so if you're applying for something outside of Fontbonne, you can add that to your financial aid award at Fontbonne as well. So even though that sticker price might be a little alarming at first, there are a lot of ways to really bring that cost down and make it really affordable. I actually went to Fontbonne myself and majored in human services before we had a social work program. And so I'm very familiar with the experience that you're going through now. It was actually cheaper or about the same for me to go to Fontbonne as it was to go to the other four-year public institutions that I was looking at. So we just want to make sure that you know that that's an option for you too. I've got a lot of information over at our table regarding the admission process and financial aid and transferability of credits and all of that as well. So just feel free to come by and let me know if you have any questions, okay? Thank you.
We'll take questions at the end, Susan.
Does anybody have any question that's specific just to Fontbonne instead of overall questions? Because I think we'll answer those first. If it's individual, you'll have some time to meet with them over at the table, especially about like 2+2 program and things like that. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. First, I want to say that I'm very honored to be here. It's very nice to see all of you and have an opportunity to speak to you. And thanks again to Susie and to the staff here and faculty here for having us. So Lindenwood would be, in a number of ways, very similar to other accredited BSW programs. I'm going to try to tell you some of the things that might make us a little bit unique. We've also sort of fancied ourselves as a small program, but we're actually a little bit bigger. So in hearing about Fontbonne and hearing a little bit about their sizes, we are a little bit bigger. We've been growing in the last 6 years that I've been at Lindenwood. We've grown fairly significantly. When I started, we had about 35 students in the 4 years of our program. Now we have about 80. So we're bigger, but we're still relatively small. In any one class, freshmen, that's freshmen all the way to seniors, you can imagine we've got about 20, 25 students. So some things that may or may not make us unique or that feel unique to us, we have 4 very diverse faculty with very diverse experiences. I was just thinking a few minutes ago, we have one who was formerly spent a lot of her time in her career in child welfare, another one who was a former police officer and then got her degree not only in criminal justice but came over to social work. I myself am an attorney. I did a lot of work for representing children in court and then sexual abuse forensic investigation along with my social work degree. And then we had an aging specialist as well. So we've got just a variety of backgrounds, very diverse set of faculty. I had been wanting to say we've got really small classes, but maybe not quite as small. All of our classes, any core classes that you would go into after having 2 years here would be smaller than 20. We max them out at 20, so we do have classes with as few as 7 or 8 up to that 20. I think one thing that may make us unique or that we've really been working on the last few years is we've worked very hard to make our classes convenient. Tuesdays and Thursdays are our core classes. So if you are coming in as a junior or senior, your core classes would meet only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We do this because we know that students need to be in the field, not only for our field education requirements, but we have a lot of students who work, we have a lot of students who commute significant distances. So Tuesdays and Thursdays would be a lot of the core classes until your final semester when you're doing the 400-hour practicum, and that semester the only day you need to be on campus is Wednesday. So we really work very hard to make our classes convenient, particularly in the upper levels. We also, one thing that is at least unique to us, maybe other programs do this, but it's new, we've only been doing it a little bit more than a year, is we block our significant classes, our core classes. So if you're taking, in our program, you'll take Social Welfare Policy and Services 1, followed by Social Welfare Policy Services 2. You would take Human Behavior in the Social Environment 1, followed by Human Behavior in Social Environment 2. So just about a year and a half ago, we decided to block these classes. So it's fairly intense, but we're getting feedback from the students that they love it. Essentially, you'll do Policy 1 in the first half of the semester, you'll do Policy 2 in the second half of the semester. So that Tuesday or Thursday, you'll come in from 8:30 to 11, the whole semester, and you'll finish 2 classes. And so we really, really like that. It's fairly intense. The student says, oh, you know, they're a little worried about it, but once they've done it, they're like, that was great. You know, I got both those classes done. And of course, we've monitored how the scores go, and student grades are even a little bit better. And we think that might be because, you know, the classes flow in time. There's not a whole 3 or 4 months off before you do the second class. We think maybe it's because of that intensity and that needing to learn the material really well. So anyway, they're doing better. They like the format, so that's relatively new to us. Well, on the topic of classes, another thing we have that I think is pretty unique to Lindenwood is we have what's called January term. We take 3 weeks, carve out 3 weeks. We have the fall semester, then we have the spring semester. As long as you're a student in both those semesters, you've got a free January term. Typically, you can only take 1 class during that term, but that's really all you can do in 3 weeks. and you know, we have you meet in our January term. But it's a great time to take elective classes. Of the 4 faculty last year, we taught, you know, electives, kind of cool stuff. We taught assertiveness training, death, grief, and loss, the aging nation, and then self-care for the human service professionals. So you get to take kind of a different class and get to take it free of charge. I wanted to let you know we're very, very focused. We emphasize heavily skill development. So our core classes, this is new to us, new this last year, we realized that our practice 1, practice with individuals, our practice 2, practice with families and groups, practice 3, practice with communities and organizations, and our research class needed a lab component. We needed more time to actually have you practice the skills that you're learning and maybe spend some time in community, maybe spend some time actually working with some groups or with community agencies and organizations. So now all those core classes have a lab component. So you get actually 4 hours of credit rather than just 3. We're going to give you some time to do some of that work and show us those great skills, and you're going to get 4 hours of credit for those courses now. And when you're done, by the time you're done, we're absolutely certain you're extremely well qualified in your final semester when you're doing practicum and typically that community practice class. We do have you come in and do a final case presentation for a faculty of panel, panel of faculty. Usually students get a little nervous about this, but they are so good. I mean, it's just amazing. Students come up there, they present a case they've been working with, and they demonstrate those 42 practice behaviors that all of our accredited programs have to see you demonstrate. We're able to just see it kind of, wow, we're like, look at this person. So that's a really neat thing we've been doing. It's sort of our capstone, our big experience, and our students are really ready to rock and ready to go out in the field. Typically, we just heard last week that one was hired by their placement. We do have a number who go into graduate programs, but we also have a number who are offered positions in their placements. We're running about a 50% placement rate right there in their social work field placement. So we're pretty excited about that. Maybe a little bit unique about Lindenwood is we're in St. Charles County. So it's bigger certainly than this area, but it's still smaller than maybe St. Louis County or city. While we do have placements in St. Louis County and city, we have an extreme number of placements out in St. Charles County and then into Jefferson County and things like that. So we can give you, if you wanted a children's division placement, we could give you that in the city, in the county, in St. Charles County and Warren County and Lincoln County. You know, we recognize that some of our students come from more rural placements and want to stay in those settings. So we have those placements available. What else did I want to tell you? We are housed in the School of Human Services, so you have a chance, even in the social work program, to interface and work with some of those other departments. It makes for some great classes. We have a first responders class where you would sit right next to CJ people, fire and paramedic people, nonprofit people, and really learn how we would all respond to immediate crises. So that's a pretty cool class that shows that collaboration. And then Lindenwood itself is, I think, small enough for you to be very, very active. I brought a few things on my table, but for example, our social work student organization is doing this play tonight. It's free to everybody, but it's a play about sexual violence and sexual assault, particularly in campus settings, which has been more in the news lately. But this is the type of thing, with Lindenwood being sort of smaller like that, it's a great place to be as active as you want to be. So our social work student organization is doing that. Oh, our extras. That's the last thing I'll tell you. Some of the extra things that make us, I think, just a great place to be. In our January term, every year, the School of Human Services will be taking a January term trip. This year, after 6 years there, it's finally my turn. So social work and criminal justice have combined. We're going to London and Paris, those students who enrolled and get to go. They're going to get 3 hours of cross-cultural credit for journeying with us to London and Paris. We built in a part, we're going to do some work with a homeless shelter there. We're going to have an emphasis for the social work angle, for the social work classes, homelessness, and how that might look different in London and Paris than it does here in the States. So that's an exciting thing. There will always be a J-term trip with some human services combined groups about every 4 years. Social work will be definitely one of the two, but you can always go with criminal justice, nonprofit, Christian ministry studies, fire and paramedic studies, any of our other departments. So that's exciting. And another new exciting recent development is that we have an ongoing close relationship with Cheyenne River Sioux Nation. Our social work classes, our students are eligible to go on a spring break service trip this semester. At least 8 or 10 students will be joining 3 of our faculty as we go out to Cheyenne River Sioux Nation and do some work with the Nation. The Nation is very interested in their Oglala Lakota Tribal College in partnering with us and doing this sort of exchange where we'll go out there for a week. The next year, they'll come and spend about a week with us. The next year, we'll go out there for a week. So it's going to be an ongoing, the long-term goal is that we'll just build bridges between some of these diverse cultures. So we're pretty excited about that development as well. And those are some of the types of things we've got going on at Lindenwood. And I look forward to talking to some of you or all of you when you get a chance.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for inviting us. Probably you'd rather I start with Mac because that's closer to you, right? Monroe College has the full program from UMSL. You take classes in a cohort fashion. The next cohort starts in the fall of 2015, which would be, I understand, when most of you would be ready to start your next phase of your education. You would apply, and there's an advisor that comes here to Jefferson College. Her name is Sue Bateman. She comes twice a week, so you don't even have to travel down to Park Hills where Monroe College is. All of the required classes are face-to-face. You're not doing the long-distance learning. We used to do it that way a long time ago, and students preferred having a live body in front of them so they could actually ask questions face-to-face. There are some electives that are offered totally online, not hybrid, where you are sometime in the classroom and sometime. In fact, I'm teaching one of those electives on abused and neglected children next semester, and we'll have students from MAC and students from UMSL, but it's all online, so they don't have to meet any place. You can get your entire social work degree by going to MAC. You can also go in, the master's program from UMSL is also offered at MAC. That's kind of the big difference with UMSL. We're a public institution. We're about an hour from here, depending on how fast you drive and which way you go. We have our own building on South Campus. Most of our classes are in that building. A few are in other buildings. We're a growing program, so we kind of outgrow the classrooms that we have. Our class size is usually 12 to 20. Occasionally, if there's not enough to make 2 classes, might push that number to 22. Both of my classes this fall were starting out at 22, but by the time we actually got to the second week, I have 17 and 18 in the 2 classes. So it's not huge classes, even though UMSL is a much bigger campus than some of the other campuses. We have, our courses aren't offered just on specific days, but all of our courses are offered both in the day and in the evening. We have a few weekend classes. Often our classes, most of our classes are 3-hour blocks. So you would take one class, if you were only going evenings, you might take a class on Monday evening, you might take a different class on Tuesday evening and a different class on Wednesday evening. And that way you would be traveling up there 3 times a week, but you wouldn't be going twice a week for each of the 3 classes, which is how a lot of classes on campus are taught. They're, an hour and 15 minutes for twice a week. We do a 3-hour block instead. Students had requested that, we went to it. Now some of them are that's a long time to sit. We do give breaks in the middle. In my classes, if you just can't sit there another minute, you can get up and walk out and then come back. You're responsible for what you miss, but you can do that. Every course we offer in your core courses are offered at least once a year in the evening. Our practice courses are usually offered both semesters. So like our social work practice with individuals is offered both fall and spring. So is our social work practice with families and groups, so that you don't have to wait to take those courses. They're usually offered every, we have 4 practice courses. We just recently, I think a year or so ago, we had one that was social work practice with communities and organizations, and we decided that was too much for one class and split it out. So there's one with communities, and then there's one with organizations. The procedure at UMSL is that you come in when you're admitted to the university, you come in as a pre-social work major. When you take Social Work 3100, which is that first practice course with individuals, you get all the information to apply for the BSW program. It's usually due 5 or 6 weeks after the beginning of the semester, and you have to have a 2.75 in your BSW and social work related classes, and a 2.5 overall GPA to be admitted to the school. There are a few other, you have to fill out an application, you have to write an essay, all of that. We have our master's program at UMSL, and you, as Dr. Jackson was talking about, you do get advanced standing if you come into the master's program. Do you have any questions? No? Okay.
So next, before we ask all the questions I know you guys brought, we're going to have one more speaker come, and this is Carrie Flesh, who's from here at Jefferson College, and she's going to talk to you guys a little bit about transfer and what she does.
Okay, so my name is Carrie, and I recognize some of you from advising appointments, and I work in the Enrollment Services office here on campus, so we can assist you with planning your courses, troubleshooting some of your financial aid information, and then moving you on to the 4-year school. So I work specifically with transfer students, and I communicate with all of the transfer representatives that visit campus and schedule appointments. So if you ever are unsure about what some requirements are, or you need some assistance researching 4-year schools, I'm a good person to start with. How many of you have an idea where you're going to go after Jefferson College? Okay, a couple of you. So that's something you don't have to know right now. The sooner you make that selection, though, the sooner you can start gearing your courses to that specific institution. So if you know that you're going to UMSL or Lindenwood or Fontbonne, we can start checking with the transfer reps and making sure that you have all your degree requirements lined out. If you're undecided, but you think you do want to transfer to a 4-year school, I encourage you to come see us in Enrollment Services, and we can teach you some of that research so that you can look at the different programs. We also assist, like I said, with financial aid, with sending transcripts when you get to that point. Anytime you have any questions about anything enrollment related, we'd like to see you guys, because it's always good to have that person double check you before you move on. So does anybody have any questions? Yes. My extension is 3220, and I have business cards and a few Jefferson College catalogs, and I'll hand those out when we're done. Very good.
Be right here, and it'll still say,
Mhm.
everybody will be at their tables, and Carrie will be right here at one of the white flags.
So does anybody else have any general questions? And just another note, we have a college fair next week, so next Tuesday in the evening in the field house. So that's an opportunity for you guys to meet representatives. And then we have a specific transfer fair in February. So that's another opportunity for you to talk to some of these colleges. And every week we have about 4 or 5 universities that visit Jefferson College and set up in the library or in Arnold or in Arts and Science 1, and you can get some individualized one-on-one time with them. So all of that information is posted on My Jeffco, but if you're wondering about any of that, please send me an email or give me a call and I'll let you know. Okay? Any other questions? All right.
One of the things, we are doing a pre-social work program endorsement, and basically that means your AA degree with a pre-social work endorsement is primarily to send you on and prepare you as well as possible for a BSW program. There are few jobs that you can get with an AA degree in general with social work in mind. There aren't many 2-year jobs in the field. There are some where you might be doing like clerical or assistance for someone who's doing a bachelor's level job, but again, those are kind of difficult to find. The one difference I would say is that sometimes in the field of substance abuse, you might find, I've had people tell me that before, that you might find more than with many populations, but it's not, that's part of why Jefferson College is doing an AA pre-BSW, pre-social work degree, because we have other 2-year degrees here. We could have done that, but it's not going to serve our students well because there aren't the jobs out there. Does that answer for you? Okay. Next. Yes.
What have you felony on record to stop someone from becoming a social worker?
Does this help, Tom? I'm going to say it again.
Would having a felony on record stop somebody from becoming a social worker?
You guys want to answer that one from your programs?
No, it wouldn't. Depending on what the felony is, if it was abuse of a child or an older person, you'd have to be limited probably to like substance abuse or something like that. It won't stop you from being admitted to our program, and there are jobs out there. How shall I say this? If the felony is related to drugs in any way, that doesn't stop you. No, that shouldn't stop you.
Did you guys have anything specific to your And screening happens early on, if anybody wants to mention that.
Right. Well, in our, I don't know about their programs, but in our program, we require you to do a security background check before you go into the field practice. And that would be a state highway patrol, a fingerprint screening, so that the field agencies know that you have that background check.
UMSL doesn't require you to do that. Some practicum sites do. But as just if going into a practicum, we don't normally require it. Some specific practicum sites do require it.
And we're similar to us.
And we have a screening here when you start your lab class. Everybody is screened, because we're going out into the field. We have screenings for any student taking the lab class that is going to any of the practice settings. So it's different levels of screening, different agencies that coordinate that. You'll get into more detail. I'm going to run back with the microphone if that helps.
My question is, does any of your universities offer any post-graduation opportunities like internships or help with job placement after you graduate? Does that not make sense?
Did you hear? Job placement and internships after graduation.
Yeah, I think all universities have a career service center that they would help you with that. Part of the professional development in our programs, we do teach you resume writing, how to make connections, and usually through your field education, you're making connections. All of our BSW graduates have jobs, or they went on to get their MSW. So it's the preparing you to be professional and develop that resume. But all universities should have career centers.
Yeah, we're very, very similar. We have the Career Services Center, but certainly the field education coordinator in helping you determine your placement would be working with you as well. And all of those pieces, it's exactly what she said. There's pieces helping you prepare professionally, and then when you're in the field, you're making connections. We require some professional development of you while you're in the field. We want you out there networking and making those connections, and then Career Services takes over and really helps connect you to possible job placements.
And I want to answer something about, UMSL also has, actually it's tonight, or this afternoon and this evening, we have a practicum fair so that you can look at practicum sites, but we also have a career fair part of that. So it's specifically not just with our university's career services, it's specifically for social workers.
Okay. Yes.
Do you guys have any online classes?
That's a great question, and we have a few. We're not expecting to ever put social work completely online, because we know that there's a need to be with you and work on the skill development and things like that. But we do have a number of our courses. I would say at this point we've got 3 of our core courses, so there's about 12 to 14 of those. 3 of those are available online.
Yeah, we do not offer any online social work courses. All of our courses are on Tuesday and Thursday, so it minimizes the drive if you have to go there. So we keep the time you're on campus down. We also realize that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to be in the field. That's a big portion of your curriculum. So we kind of reduce that amount of time on campus. But I don't see that we will have an online course in the future that has to go through the Council Social Work Education. Not for us. I don't know.
We have a couple of the core courses that are offered online. Mainly it's electives that are offered online.
Anybody? I mean, I know everybody's got some more questions, so I don't want to say, does anybody? I know that you do. Taylor? Everyone's just warming up, I think.
If you could give a social worker one piece of advice, what would it be?
Get your BSW and then your MSW.
Right, I think that's good. I would think, know that if you're interested in social work, you'll probably have, I tell these students all the time, you are gifted with an intellect of empathy, this ability to really understand other people. And if you have that gift, social work will really teach you how to use that and use it well, so you don't burn out, and how to use that type of intelligence. And also know that education prepares you for social work. It's broad, and you might get your BSW and MSW in one area, but you can also go out and branch out. So in that sense, for a career in social work, it's great, because you might start in mental health and go into children's, then go into drug and alcohol, or go into administration. So it's, in that sense, it's really good. It's a great profession, great career.
Yeah, so that's leading right into mine. Mine was going to be diversity of experience. I would absolutely recommend trying different things, different groups, different, components of the field. And I would add to that also, I think it's important, self-care is in there, because you're taking care of yourself and learning and exposing yourself to different things. So those two, getting as much experience, as much broad brush as you can, because you're obviously here because you have compassion and a heart, and your heart will be very happy the more exposure you get.
But take care of yourself, too,
yes.
right? Right.
Hi, and I want to know if you have been able to work in a field that has inspired you to pursue the career of social work, and what do you hope to accomplish as being a social worker as far as in your career?
I didn't hear the second And did you want to give us the second part as well?
And what do you hope to accomplish in your career as part of the
Okay, good question.
So what inspired, right, okay. I always had a passion. I think it goes back to what inspired me for social work was at a young child at age 8. I remember driving through the city of St. Louis and seeing homeless men on the street and asking my dad, what is that? That's not right. So that was the empathy in me as a child that was clear. So through grade school, this desire to help others, this understanding of other people wanting to know what's going on in people's lives is what inspired me for social work. I think it was a natural transition that way. And mental health was just a natural fit for me because I feel I like working with people with chronic mental illnesses. I feel they're the most vulnerable people in our population and our society and many unmet needs. So I've had a lot of successes with that. And currently I have a clinical practice working with individuals with mental illness. I continue to maintain that and will maintain it. But now as a teacher, I feel I can give that back and help other individuals kind of grow in the profession. But there's always many opportunities to move in many different directions, and social work will take you in all the different directions you want to go or stay focused in one area.
Thanks. Okay. For me, what inspired me was probably being in a family that had a divorce. So I wanted to become a social worker who could work with children of divorce. I did do that. I worked some with I tried to mediate divorces. It's very, very hard work. It was very difficult. I opted then, I had, as I mentioned, I have my law and social work background, so I opted then instead to try to do things that bring people together. I didn't want to be in the fighting as much. So I did some mediation training, I did some conflict resolution training, and gets to my ultimate goal. I like to build bridges. I like to get people to hear that diversity, to be exposed to differences, and to realize that we're actually a lot more similar than we are different, and to get together as human beings. So that, ultimately it's still feeding my desire and my drive. It's still kept me towards a path. But in social work, I think we have that tremendous, beautiful opportunity to work with people from all walks of life, and then to try to get us to recognize each other in our similar condition. Yes, that's what
I was interested in working with abused and neglected children, and I went to work for what is now the Children's Division, probably before most of you were born, and worked there a number of years, decided to get my master's, stayed in that field of working in foster care, getting children into permanent placements. That I had a real passion for that. My husband and I actually adopted children from the foster care system, which just fueled my professional passion. I actually used to say they would carry me out of DFS in a pine box. I worked there for a long time. And then the university asked me to come and help them with a special program training students who wanted to go into public child welfare. And so very reluctantly, I left the agency and went to the university. And so being able to teach students about going to work in public child welfare has been an equal passion now, I guess I would say. I'm getting a little old to go out in the field and carry kids places. So I've been able to do that also.
All right, we're going to take one last question, and then we're going to do, you guys can stop by the tables here.
I know counseling is considered a part of therapy. Is behavioral therapist also under that umbrella of social work?
Are you talking about behavioral therapy degree?
Well, just like if you were a social worker, could you also work like with counselors?
Okay. Okay, if you're an yeah.
Or, help people out.
You can use behavioral therapy as an LCSW, if that's your question, yes. You can't get a degree in behavior therapy and call yourself a social worker.
And there's the applied behavioral analysis. That's the working with children who have autism. The applied behavioral analysis is yes, it's very important to educate yourself on all the different names, and so that's different than applied behavioral therapy too. So.
Right, yeah, good answers.
But in order to call yourself
Right.
a social worker, you must have a degree that says bachelor's degree in social work or master's degree in social work from the Council on Social Work Accreditation.